Coming up on Tekzilla, Digital Camera Week, people. We're going to pick the best cameras for the money, talk about video on still cameras, share our favorite camera accessories, and go deep on getting better pictures when it's dark out, whether you're inside or outside. And of course, we got some viewer questions. So clean your hands so you don't get that lens dirty. Tekzilla starts now. This episode of Tekzilla is made possible by DimDim, Squarespace, and GoDaddy.com. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to Tekzilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and all of your family, if you've got a question about tech or the nommiest pokey on the shelf, we've got an answer for you.
Nom, nom, nom,
nom,
nom.
nom, nom, nom.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does, especially for those really scary, you know the label when you're looking at the pokey rack where it's not really pokey, but it's like faux pokey, and you're like, is that
faux
alabaster liver flavor or something like that?
I love pokey.
Hey, you've been up to mayhem. You've been up to no good.
Yeah, I did something kind of silly the other day. I blogged about this last night, or I guess a week ago, almost at this point. But you know the Droid sound that everyone's been talking about on the Verizon Droid phone?
Everybody's excited. We should point out we will have a Droid review as soon as one of our friends can get their little grubby paws on it.
Exactly. Well, it has this kind of interesting sound it makes when you get an SMS. It's like the SMS alert sound. And Ryan couldn't stop talking about it. And they talked about it on the GDGT podcast, and everyone was going nuts over this tone. So I thought it'd be really funny to make it the default ringtone for when he calls me. Although I should have done it backwards and made it the default ring for when I call him so he'd actually hear it instead of me being tortured with it all the time.
So what does it sound like?
Ready?
It's like Robotron 2047.
I get such a kick out of it. But hey, that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about digital photography.
Okay, we're going to talk about gadgets before we get really serious with camera picks and tricks. And look, we all have favorite accessories for stuff like netbooks, cell phones, digital music players. Should we just randomly pick stuff up, or should we start like with tripods or something?
I like tripods.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of these buddies.
Look, do yourself. Actually, you know what we should talk about even before that? I just realized.
What?
The number one thing you can do, especially if you've just gotten a new digital camera, RTFM, read the frackin' manual. Because there's nothing worse than like you've seen that parent on the side of the soccer field like furiously bouncing through menus before they fling the camera off the side of their SUV. Know how your camera works, know the settings, know how to turn the flash on and off, to basically force the flash on, to force the flash off. Learn how to use your camera before you find yourself like, I'm taking pictures of my wife's childbirth, which you really shouldn't do. But you don't want to have a camera fail. That just made Veronica hyperventilate. But definitely read the manual before you, basically spend time learning all the ins and outs of your camera before you get out somewhere and miss that one.
The number one, I'd have to say the number one thing that I ever tell people about using their digital camera is how to turn the flash off and how to set the ISO setting higher so they can take like relatively good indoor shots without having it be like super uber flash in everyone's faces. Like if you have enough ambient light going around, then it's not too hard to take a good picture as long as you hold the camera steady and make sure that or have a tripod, exactly.
Yeah, we should also point out if you don't have spare batteries. Look, digital cameras, as soon as the batteries run out, turn into paperweights. It's like magic, especially if you have like a classic rechargeable battery that looks something like, this or one of the 3,000 variations on this, where you're not going to find one of these at the 7-Eleven or even behind the local drugstore counter. So a spare rechargeable battery that's charged, like charge your battery as soon as you get back to the house. One of my favorite things, my wife's camera uses AA batteries, and I picture a couple of these, which are the Batco. It's like the battery user tube or something. But basically I picked these up at Tad Gear, my second home, like $275 for one of them, and they hold actually 4 AA batteries each.
So are these just compartments for holding batteries? Is that all it does? It just keeps them in one safe place?
Yeah, but if you put a handful of loose batteries in your purse, where would they end up?
At the bottom of the purse
If
where I
you were
couldn't
lucky,
get them.
exactly.
Or
underneath the makeup.
underneath the makeup and everything else.
Just above there's the core and the crust and the mantle.
I would even use that for just keeping it in my junk drawer, because I have so many batteries just floating around in that drawer now. It would be nice to have it all in one place where I could find and know that they're new and charged.
Yes.
And not dead batteries that I've just
We have a very, very careful
thrown
sort of
to the wind.
uncharged, not charged battery sort of thing. Oh, and flash memory.
Oh.
Flash memory's gotten ridiculously cheap. You can never have too big a memory card, especially if you're working with a DSLR and working with RAW files, which take up ridiculous amounts of space. 32 gigabyte SD cards, as little as 80 to 100 bucks. 4 to 8 gigabytes is a really nice jump from a 2 gigabyte card. We're talking about like 25, 30 bucks or something like that. CF cards for DSLRs, 8 gigabytes for 35 bucks is pretty. I just picked one up yesterday.
Lens cleaners too. That's another important one, like this buddy.
The Rocket. That is Mr.
It's like, and if you're on a photo shoot, you can use this to get that really natural, like air flowing wind effect, you know? No, that's not what that's for?
That's the Giotto Rocket Pod. This is Mr. Chang's favorite, because basically he's really big into blowing away the dust. And you'll notice because of Mr. Chang's fervent enthusiasm for doing the right thing, there is an ultraviolet filter, a UV filter on this lens. Anytime you buy a digital camera lens, DSLR lens, spend the like extra $8 and get a UV filter that fits it, and that will prevent you from permanently scratching. You know, you scratch the $8 filter instead of the multi-hundred, or in this case the beat up kit lens. But basically, right, you want to blow off all the dust, and I actually am a big fan of the lens pen. Like microfiber is great if you're there's the lens pen. Microfiber is pretty much what should be, is great for cleaning them. But with the lens pens, it's this crazy little thing, and on one side, you've got a basic brush for removing dust, and on the other side, it opens up, and it's basically sort of portable newsprint. And what it does is it packs some carbon into the foam on that every time it closes, and the carbon helps it absorb the oil from fingerprint smudges.
Oh, wow.
Which can be really useful when you have a 2-year-old. It will not cut through peanut butter. That we go back to the usual, get out the 90% isopropyl alcohol, do a 5 or 10 to 1 mixture with water, put in your microfiber rag, twist it until no longer droplets are coming on, take your moist microfiber rag and rub it against the lens.
You're saying gently. In that voice, but that's actually the first time I'm hearing this, so that was actually pretty good information.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right, just said in a condescending way, it's cool, whatever.
No, I've said it, I feel like I've said it so many times over the past, few months. I've just been kind of obsessed with that. But basically, look, microfiber, I buy these 500 pack microfiber, you can buy like a 3M microfiber lens cloth.
Yeah.
It's like computer lens cleaning cloth, and it's just a cheap piece of microfiber. And not to say anything against 3M's quality, it's lovely, but or you can get like a 24 pack at your local Costco or whatever.
And they're good for everything too. They're not just good for lens cleaning. I mean, you can clean gadgets with them of all different varieties.
Tripods. Anytime you can get floating head ones are the best, but this is a $9 special from Goodwill.
$9, really?
$9,
not
and
bad.
I've used it to take pictures of the stars and use my gigantic lens, and of course, if you want to set the timer and run and take a picture of yourself in front of your computer.
For your MySpace picture.
Exactly.
And this is the Gorilla Pod, right?
The Gorilla Pod. Yeah, Joby, we've known these people for years. They make this, it wraps around things. They have a bigger one that works better with DSLR cameras. This one's better for small handheld cameras, pocket-sized cameras.
It does kind of pinch the flesh, though, if you
wrap it around
I don't know
yourself.
why. I'm just trying to show what a great accessory it could also be, other than for photography. But these are great because if you have like a weirdly angled platform or some kind of table, or if you just want to take an interesting angle, or if you want to wrap it around a piece of furniture, or anything you've got going on, these are great little things to carry around with you.
This is a Petco UltraPod, another portable tripod. It's basically, it expands out. It's really easy. It'll hold your camera steady, and then you can actually close it right up, and the Velcro in it will actually work if you want to tie it to some sort of railing or something like that. Just be careful that you don't end up. The rubber's pretty good at keeping it from spinning.
Can't you just imagine having that moment where you tie it to some kind of railing, like you said, and you go about 10 feet back, and all of a sudden you start seeing it slide down.
As long as it just As long as it just slides down like this and doesn't slide down and then drop off. Another one, actually, the Petco folks do is the Ultra Clamp, and this one's really slick because it's designed to clamp onto a car window. It does a much better job of clamping onto a railing or something like that. Your camera goes up here, you've got some pretty good adjustability up here, and you just clamp it down up to about, I want to say, about an inch and a quarter on this one.
cases.
Is that Rogers or is that one yours?
This is not mine, so this must be Rogers.
It must be Rogers. It's a low pro.
But a case is a great thing to have, especially if you're carrying around your camera on a trip and you don't want to just stick it in your backpack or into your purse. A lot of people don't end up getting cases, which I find kind of funny. I don't have one right now, actually, for my camera, but I used to have one that was great, and I actually sold it. But this is great for if you've got one of these little guys right here. Perfect size. And then you've got a bigger one, too.
This is actually, usually my camera lives inside of my padded computer case, which does pretty well. This actually was designed, Timbuktu used to make this for DJs, and it's designed to hold a gigantic pair of DJ headphones, but I discovered it will hold all of my kit inside of it, and it gives me a nice clean draw of the camera from the hip. Not so good when I have the 300mm lens on it, but for regular use, it actually allows it, you know, it's a belt pack. So I really like a lot of the belt pack cameras out there. There's too many vendors to talk about. And then there's hard cases, right? Otterbox, Pelican both make great cases. Pelican with the big ones.
Are the Pelican the ones that have the separate compartments that you can keep all your different lenses in?
Pelican would be probably those ones. If you ever,
those are neat. Those are hardcore.
Yeah, they're not cheap, but if you are crazy enough to check your expensive cameras into the hold of the airplane, a Pelican case will survive whatever they do to it. Yeah,
I'd love to hear what some of your favorite digital camera accessories and devices are that you carry around with you. So email us, Tekzilla@revision3.com. I'm windblown.
Still to come, we're going to talk about digital cameras. What are the best buys you can get, from inexpensive pocket cameras to full-blown DSLRs? Stay tuned. Right now, though, let's talk about one of our sponsors, GoDaddy.com. If you want to make an impact online, GoDaddy.com has what you need. .com names for as little as $1.99, world-class hosting, fast and easy website builders, and quite a bit more. GoDaddy.com makes it easy to customize your own virtual dedicated server. Choose one of 3 popular plans or select your own Linux or Windows server with all the plan options you need. Entering code TEK5, that's TEK5 when you check out, you'll save an additional $10 off any order of $40 or more. Some restrictions do apply. Please see the site for details and check out revision3.com/GoDaddy for all the Tekzilla GoDaddy deals and codes. Get your piece of the internet from GoDaddy.com and do us a favor, use one of those TEK codes when you do. Welcome to this week's Freebie Download Pick, a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, it's an obsession for our producer, Serafina, Microsoft's Image Composite Editor, aka Microsoft's ICE. Sometimes a single photo doesn't capture the whole scene. ICE lets you stitch together multiple photos into one seamless panorama. Oh, photo stitching, boring, right? No way, this one is easy. Just select your series of photos, drag them into the application, specify whether you're standing still or rotating the camera like on a tripod, or if you're moving side to side like if you're moving down a hallway, then adjust your video using the cube in the top toolbar. If your results are warped in some way, you can adjust the curvature, and if your panorama is a full 360 degrees, you can choose the center point. Once you've finished tweaking, just hit apply. And because your photos are never going to be perfect, it'll even automatically crop your result to the largest possible rectangle. Cool. When you're done, choose your desired size, format, and quality, and click export. Voila, your very own panoramic shot, and it's just about perfect. So, next time you can't fit the whole thing into a single frame, don't fear, just stitch it up with Microsoft Image Composite Editor. No digital photography edition of Tekzilla would be complete without some digital camera buying advice. My usual advice, just go buy a Canon PowerShot. It's worked for my mom, it's worked for my wife, it's worked for almost everybody else I've told to go buy a PowerShot. Or I get smart and I know Lori Grunin over at CNET. She's her favorite reviewer of still cameras, and she, well, runs a whole crew of people that run reviews over there. Lori actually couldn't be with us today because of scheduling conflicts, so we put together a list of some of our favorite cameras, some of the best reviewed cameras out there, and we have 7 digital cameras that are worth your money, starting with...
All right, the Canon EOS 5D Mark II, listing about $2,700. Without the lens, it is probably one of the more drool-worthy cameras available on the market, not only because it's a great still camera, because it also does HD video.
And it's gorgeous HD video.
Yes.
Even when you're dealing with low light, bad light, or complicated lighting situations, looks great. A little bit less money, Nikon D90, and also for the people with the Nikon lenses out there, $1,200 with the $18 to $105 kit lens. You can save a couple $100 if you buy it without the kit lens. Solid as in burly, as in beat an alligator to death. It is a good, solid, all-around 12 megapixel digital camera. And by the way, megapixels, just don't pay attention to them anymore. At this point, it's really all about the lens and the processing, because until we get to like 48 megapixels, there's not going to be a huge visual difference.
Yeah.
So, Oh, 4/3 cameras.
4/3, one of the more popular ones is the Panasonic GH1. This came out at the beginning of the year. $1,500 if you can find it, because it's such a hot item. It's really, really scarce. Now, it's the micro 4/3, which means it is a 4/3 based sensor. Same size. Only difference between a micro 4/3 and a 4/3 is that they remove the reflex lens action out of it, making
the flap,
making it possible to shrink the size of the camera. So instead of having a normal sized DSLR, you have a much smaller camera.
It looks very twee, and it takes very nice pictures. Speaking of which, a lot of people think of it as the baby 5D Canon's EOS Rebel T1i, $800 with the kit lens, a little bit less without the kit lens. Why do you care? Well, okay, so there's no stereo recording of audio on it, and there's no microphone input. You notice we're talking about HD video on this one? Yeah, because it's basically the baby 5D. Good video capture, good light, great still cameras, and it's going to work with your Canon lenses.
Yes.
Now, let's talk about stuff that's a lot less money. Under $300, Panasonic's Lumix DMC-ZR1. This is a mega zoom camera. It's got a long 8x lens, does some wide angle work. It's focused on point and shooters, not wannabe pros, so there's no aperture or shutter speed controls. But if your mom wants to be able to take pictures of birds in the distance and mom is not technical, this is a great camera. Just make sure you get her a tripod to go with that long lens. Fujifilm's FinePix F200 EXR, $250. Basically on the street. No one does not like this camera, especially if you like to take pictures in night in a bar or in your office or with your kids and the lighting sucks. This is awesome. Fujifilm's Super CCD EXR sensor, it's a new technology, has better dynamic range and great low light performance, and it also takes great pictures. 12 megapixels, 5x optical. The movie mode kind of sucks, but this is a great camera for low light situations. Now, probably the best budget camera out there, Kodak's EasyShare M1033, $140 typically on the street. It is simple, it is inexpensive, it is a point and shoot that delivers, quote, solid photo quality, a quote of the reviewers over at CNET, and it still backs a 3-inch LCD flat panel on the back, and it's pretty speedy, so you're not sitting there like clicking the shutter and waiting
yes,
for days.
Having a very quick speed on a point and shoot's great, because typically they lag behind SLRs, and it's nice to be able to take a shot and not have it blurred because you clicked on it, didn't hear it go all the way, and you moved your hand.
Just do yourself a favor, always research before you buy. We're going to have links to reviews of all of these cameras up on the show notes. And hey, you know what? There are amazing cameras right now. They are cheap, and if you're thinking about one for Christmas, I doubt you'll go wrong if you pick from this list.
All right, after the break, I'm back with Veronica to talk about low light photography.
But first, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors.
Hello, Kaylee the intern here to tell you about Squarespace. Did you know that most employers will do a Google search on their job candidates before hiring? That goes for interns too. Now, before getting my internship here at Revision 3, I wanted something out there online that would represent me in a professional way. That's where Squarespace came in. And there were a few music blogs out there that really caught my eye with their clean, colorful, yet sort of minimalist design, and I wanted to model my site after them. After buying KayleeEmerson.com, I started by picking one of Squarespace's designer templates and adjusting the layout, block positioning, colors, and more until I was happy with what I had on screen. Then, after some feedback from my Twitter followers, I had a beautiful finished product in a little corner of the internet I was proud to call my own. I didn't have to do any of the coding, Squarespace handled all the back work. Now, I built my site from scratch, but if you already have a blog or website somewhere else, you can use Squarespace's shiny new blog importer tool. Right now, it's the only thing out there like it. It will bring over all of your WordPress, Blogger, TypePad, and movable type posts and pages over to Squarespace with just one click. It will also migrate all of your comments, tags, authors, media, and search engine optimizations so you won't lose your Google page rank. So check it out at squarespace.com and use the code Tekzilla, that's Tekzilla, when you check out, and you'll get 10% off of the lifetime of your order. Support us by supporting our sponsors.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Social Status Generator. If you're tired of putting all that effort into coming up with witty and pithy things to say on Facebook, Twitter, FriendFeed, Identica, Plurk, wait, is that one still even around? Yeah, then it's time for you to check out the Social Status Generator. There really isn't that much to it. You pick a word from the tag cloud, and then the Social Status Generator pulls a random update from the ether. Let's see what they can come up with. Okay, well, food is something that everyone loves to write about. Veronica is wondering why toasters have a setting that burns toast to a horrible crisp, which no decent human being would ever eat. Insightful. How about the weird tag? Veronica is your perfect drug. How very 9 Inch Nails of me. Okay, so it's a little silly, but for those moments where you just can't pull anything out of your butt, give the social status generator a try. Oh, and by the way, the site's for sale, so, you know, maybe that could be your next thing. One of the most oft asked questions we get about digital photography is, how do I make my low light or night shots better? Here to help answer that question is a man who's wrestled with that issue more than a few times, our very own producer, Roger Chang.
Hey!
Hey, thanks for coming on.
Sure.
That's a nice camera you got there.
I know.
So how do you take better low light shots? I mean, that's something I deal with all the time. That bright flash, overexposed picture at nighttime. So what are the ways that they can keep that from happening?
Believe it or not, the simplest thing you can do is have your subject stand in the available lighting. That's bright enough. You know, if you're in a park, there might be a lamp near a door, or maybe near a restaurant that you can shoot in front of. If you have a flash, use the flash. There's nothing wrong with using a flash. Get a lay of the land. You know, if you're going to go out and go shooting, you know, at night, are you going to be in an area where there's no light? You might want to take a flash or maybe a portable light source with you. Now, what about situations where you can't take light with you? There's like 3 things you can change. First of these is shutter speed, probably more applicable to those with SLRs. Shutter speed, essentially how quickly the shutter opens and closes. The slower the shutter stays open or closes, the more light gets in.
Ah, right.
Quicker
That makes it blurry, though.
Makes it more blurry. Quicker the shutter, less light, less blurry, but not as bright. In fact, in most cases, it's very dark.
But you could just get a tripod or something to help it from getting blurry.
You can use a tripod. What you want to do typically is basically set with a very long shutter speed, not too long. And typically you can adjust that through the shutter speed setting in your camera, depending on what kind of camera you have. It'll be in a different location. Set it to maybe like 1/25th, and use a tripod. And then in that case, the tripod will carry the weight of the camera, keep it steady, and you'll have a nice, good-looking photo. And generally, if you're shooting things like architecture, like a building, not an issue. If you're shooting people, you want to make sure they don't move around too much. Another thing you can actually adjust is aperture. Typically, it's rated in f-stops. Lower the f-stop, the higher the opening. Now, typically, most consumer-grade cameras, like the one you have right there, you're not going to be able to adjust it too much because they're kind of locked in to save money. However, what you'll notice in the front is that they'll actually have a variable aperture setting. As you move in, the aperture actually gets smaller. And that's because there's more glass or more space between the front of the lens when you zoom in. So if you want to shoot at night with a good aperture setting with point and shoot, zoom out. Basically set it on wide and then literally zoom with your feet. Walk closer to the subject matter you want to shoot. That will give you a maybe 1 or 2 stops advantage. If you're running an SLR, you can do the same thing. There's a setting that allows you to tweak that as well. Or you can invest in a more expensive, pricier lens. This is a 2.8 lens all the way through, no matter what part of the zoom I'm at. Does give you a big leg up in shooting in low light without using a flash. All right, final thing is ISO speed. Now, back in the film days, ISO speed was the rating of the film, how sensitive it was to light. Now, because we're all digital now, this ISO setting's a lot like the gain function on a video camera or a radio. It basically boosts up the sensitivity at the expense of noise.
It does get a lot grainier.
And you know, what you can do is, yeah, you can boost it all the way up to, typically, like in that camera, I think it goes up to 200, and that's it. With SLRs, because their sensors are so much larger, typically you can bump, this one that goes up to like 3200.
1600, 3200.
3200. And you know, if you really need to get that shot and you're not too worried about noise, you can take that shot and then use an aftermarket product like Noise Ninja or something to kind of clean up the image afterwards. But there's a limitation again. If you set that all the way up on one point and shoot, oftentimes your image will come out close to unusable, other than say like party photo or a Facebook, you know, grouping. But it's one of those things where, you know, if you need to shoot in a low light situation and you know you got most things taken care of, for example, you can brace yourself against a chair in front of you. Like I was at a convention and I wanted to take a shot of the stage. Can't use a flash because they're too far away to get flash. I'm not going to tell the guys in the auditorium to crank up the lights just for me. So what I did was I steadied myself and I boosted the ISO, and I managed to get a shot that would otherwise have been blurry.
Right, as long as they're not moving around too much, you should be okay.
Yeah, and one of the things to consider is like all these elements aren't independent. They all work together. So you can tweak one, you can tweak the other, and you can kind of get a good balance so you can get the best possible shooting situation.
All right, well, good tips. Any other final thoughts?
Yeah, play with your camera. You never know what you can do unless you play with it. So experiment. You know, if you're not doing anything tonight or something, go home and
Are you asking me out, Roger?
Sure, except I know your boyfriend.
Oh,
So, yeah, no, just play around with it. Check out all the settings, as Patrick said earlier in the show. Read the manual, understand the capabilities and the limitations of your camera, and you should be well on your way. At least 60% of the way there, figuring out how to take a good photo in low light.
RTFM, right?
Yes.
RTFM. All right, well, coming up next, we've got more viewer questions. But first, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, DimDim. DimDim is easy, free web conferencing. It's super easy to use, built on open source, and 100% browser-based. It's so easy, just start a meeting in IM or email your DimDim URL. Your friends or clients click that link, and in seconds, they're in the same web conference room with you, sharing your computer screen, documents, whiteboards, and they can even see and hear you via webcam. You can host, attend, even record your events with no download required, just a browser. Best of all, DimDim is free. That's right, free. Why pay for web conferencing when DimDim is free? Get over to dimdim.com/Tekzilla to sign up for DimDim for free to support our show and join the more than 3 million people who love DimDim. It takes less than 15 seconds to sign up for free. As part of the DimDim sponsorship, we're hosting our second live DimDim meetup as part of the taping of this very episode of Tekzilla. Hi guys. Hi, they're watching over there. We'd figured that we'd take this opportunity to ask the chat room directly for any photo-related questions. The first one comes from Christy, who has a question about free image editing tools.
Okay, are we talking like, a good place to start is your favorite site for alternative applications?
Yes, alternative2.net, which has saved me on more than one occasion. And so you can go on there and look up Photoshop, you can go and look up GIMP, you can go and look up, I don't know, Pixelmator is one that I use on the Mac, and find all sorts of different alternatives to those various editing tools. And there are a ton of them, of all different licenses and all different platforms. You just have to take the time to look around a little bit.
A little bit of searching.
Now, what do you like?
On Windows, my favorite is paint.net, which is at, paint.net or getpaint.net.
It's not Paint the app. Right?
It's not Paint the app.
Because that's hilarious.
It started as a college project to build a replacement, and I gotta say that it's slick, it's easy, it has more tools than I really know how to use or need to use. But getpaint.net, great application, and I would be remiss, and we will get a million emails if I don't mention the GIMP, which is available on Windows and OS X, and of course the Unixes like Linux. And I have not used it recently on Windows, but I have had people say everything from "it's awesome" to "dear God, that buggy mess, why did you send me there?"
I did not love it.
It's free and it's open source.
It is free. It is open source, which makes me happy, but I did not love its usability. But maybe I just don't have the patience for that kind of thing. Who knows?
I'm still a big fan of paint.net though.
I use Pixelmator. It's not free.
Not free. Lovely tool though.
Yeah, but it's really easy if you want to do just some basic image editing. You can probably take it to the next step if you fiddle around with a little bit. It's no Photoshop, but it gets the job done.
And most of us are not serious Photoshop nerds. Pixelmator, by the way, is an OS X app.
Yes, that's true.
Hopefully this gives you lots of ideas on what you can use as an alternative to Photoshop. Or I should say a free photo editing tool, but we always go back to Photoshop.
Yeah.
Photoshop LE.
Photoshop is kind of awesome.
Not free though.
Our next question comes from Ted out in Daly City. He writes, I'm looking to make the leap from a point and shoot to a DSLR. What should I be concerned with? Price, megapixels, company, reputation? I've owned a couple of 35mm film Nikons and have loved every one. Ted.
There's a short answer here. Ted, you like the Nikon, they make great DSLRs, go buy one.
Yeah, the only problem I've seen with newer Nikons is that they're not backwards compatible with a lot of the lenses that Nikon makes. So if you have an older Nikon lens, it may not work with your newer Nikon DSLR. But anyway, Ted, you're already on the right track. Those are some of the things that I would definitely look into when picking a DSLR, though there's no reason to get obsessed with megapixels. If you're getting a DSLR, it's probably going to be, 12 megapixels, 10 megapixels.
And you're not going to be able to see the difference.
It's not going to make much of a difference, and honestly, unless you're blowing things up to giant poster size, you don't need any more than that. If you're just using it to take pictures of your family or going on photo walks and that kind of thing, 12 is probably the most you're going to need. But honestly, the first thing that any DSLR shopping should start off with is, what do you want to do? Almost all DSLR cameras are good if you just want to take family photos. But if you want something that you can grow with, currently Canon, Nikon, and to a smaller extent Pentax offer a wider selection of accessories, lenses, and gear, both first and third party. Next thing, of course, to consider is price. How much do you want or are you willing to spend? Many camera makers have a full range of DSLRs ranging from entry-level models to super expensive pro units with full-frame sensors. We're talking like $6,000.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people running around with $2,500 cameras that take $50 pictures. You know what I mean? If you want to spend the money on the camera, don't let us stop you. But you can get a really good DSLR for around $500 without a lens, $600-700, well under $700 with a kit lens. It's the inexpensive lens they usually bundle with it. You know, if you're looking for a serious lens because you are a serious photographer, figure about $1,000 for a decent lens with one of the lower end models. Canon Rebel, again, one of my favorites. Entry-level DSLR, the smaller ones, they're much cheaper than they've ever been. And it's actually amazing. You can get probably more pro-level features than you will ever be able to use even on the lowest end cameras. So
totally.
it's, you know, and you know, these are all, you know, digital single lens reflex. So the idea is that you're looking and seeing what's coming through the lens, and it's really nice.
Yeah, but there are a lot of different brands out there between, you know, we mentioned Canon, Nikon, Olympus, what else? Sony. There's tons out there. Like we said, most people tend to think of Canon and Nikon. But it's the lenses at the end of the day that'll probably make the biggest difference in your shots.
Yeah. Buying a DSLR, it's kind of like joining the mob. You're in for that format or brand, basically that lens mount for the long haul, unless you have enough money to buy another camera when you want to. And as you invest in lenses and accessories, you're probably going to stay with that, because if you're a serious photographer, you can rapidly end up with a few $1,000s tied up in lenses. Mr. Chang actually is working on this. I believe he's going to sell his car to buy his next lens. You know, and you keep, you know, you basically, once you start to get into that, you know, the resale value, despite what you might see people trying to get for lenses on Craigslist, is not as high as you might like it to be. Just be aware that when you purchase something and you buy a bunch of lenses for it, you're pretty much stuck with that company for life. So if you're happy with Nikon, I say go with Nikon. If you're happy with Canon, I say go with Canon. Our last question comes in from Todd. He writes in, I'm in the market for a new compact digital camera, but I'd also like to shoot video with it. Have the video capabilities of digital cameras, the handheld kind, approach the performance and convenience of, say, a pocket video camcorder like the Flip? What are the advantages and limitations of having a dedicated video camera compared to an all-in-one? Finally, which compact digital cameras do you recommend for both its point-and-shoot and video capabilities? Todd in Virginia. Hey, look, I love Pure Digital's Flip cameras, little pocket-sized dedicated video cameras. The one Mauricio, one of our editors, broke. Thanks. Appreciate it, man. Love you. But they're really convenient for occasional video. But meeting their video quality isn't that hard, especially if you're talking about the $100 Flip and not the $170 Flip HD. Basic $100 Flip, 60 minutes of 640 by 480 SD video. The $170 Flip HD does 1280 by 720 video. That's 720p. The Ultra HD gives you 120 minutes. The regular Flip HD gives you 60 minutes. I gotta say, I've always been pleased. I haven't really seen a lot of bad video from any of the cameras. Again, we're partial to the Canon PowerShot, 640 by 480 video. Your digital still camera will have a bigger lens, probably has a better CCD capturing the light, maybe a more powerful processor, and you can put a big fat memory card into it to store video. And the still camera actually also takes great still pictures.
Great stills, yeah. Getting HD video on a pocket camera means spending at least $200. The PowerShot SD780IS, $200. It's good entry-level 720p video. The Canon PowerShot SX200IS is around $300. And the Panasonic Lumix DMC ZS3K, which is around $320 to $350, does AVC HD, which means extended recording time.
Yeah, it's a nice little compression hack. So basically the 720p video it captures takes up less space. All of these beg for huge memory cards. Figure about 40 minutes of HD video on an 8GB HD card.
Yeah, the Panasonic DMC GF1 actually has a dedicated video button on it. It takes full HD video. Yeah, you just push the little video button right here at the top.
So no switching to video mode, people. You
don't
just
have
hit
to worry
button.
about it.
That's actually kind of convenient.
Yeah, it's got all sorts of interesting video features too, like interesting back focus stuff, and
so
you can
does
zoom in
the
and zoom
micro
out.
Four Thirds replaceable lenses.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
It's going to run you around $800 to $900 depending on the configuration or what you're looking at. It's a little more expensive than you might typically want to spend for something that does video and stills if you don't want something too high end.
Well, I mean, this is essentially competing with the Canons and the Nikons. Micro Four Thirds is kind of a new format for the lenses on that one. The Olympus, a nice pocket-sized camera. Is that one also ever movable? Is that a Micro Four Thirds also?
It is as well. Yeah, these are kind of the two competing models out there right now because Olympus and Panasonic both developed the Micro Four Thirds format. Yeah, I guess all right, format, sure, why not? But yeah, these are the two ones out there right now. They both do video, although this one does have the dedicated video button.
All right. Hey, if you got more money to spend, the video from the Canon EOS 5D Mark II is ridiculously gorgeous, but it's a $2,500 DSLR. The EOS Rebel TI, or I should say T1i, does solid HD too. The audio isn't so hot, you can't do an external microphone. And I should point out, for all of these cameras, one of the great fallbacks of any small, tiny handheld video camera is if they don't isolate the microphone properly, anytime you move your fingers on the case, you can pick up the noise on that.
They also just pick up a lot of weird ambient sound. Like they're not as, the microphones just aren't up to par as like a regular camcorder.
Yeah, it's a little tiny, like, you know, it's like, oh, we do video, we gotta have what are those, a microphone. Go talk to some of the guys in the audio division, right? And then they punch this little tiny hole in the plastic and they put a microphone behind it. And most of them will not accept an external microphone. So, you know, not that the microphone in the flip cameras is anything to write home about and, you know, record your next album on. All right, I think we are out of digital photography questions for now. Right now, though, we want to tell you about our newest show here at Revision 3, App Judgment, people. It's a mobile phone application review show for the iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, and Palm Pre. App Judgment has a team of passionate reviewers headed by David Prager, and occasionally I do make appearances. We'll give you advice, tips, and more importantly, we'll find some of the best applications for your mobile device. Catch new episodes on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on revision3.com/appjudgment.
And for all of you watching, we live on your questions, so email us, Tekzilla@revision3.com. Tech help, product reviews, how-tos, you ask us, we'll do it. But we need those emails, so don't be shy, send them in to Tekzilla@revision3.com. Or even better, send us in a video question. Think of all the fun you can have and the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us a link in an email with video question in the subject line.
And as always, you can visit our forums, revision3.com/forum. Share your thoughts, ideas, or comments with the rest of the fans of the show.
Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
We'll see you next week on Tekzilla.